iHeartRadio station you listen to. Pride Radio.
PrideRadio.com. Here she is. Break my heart.
All right.
Are we live?
We're live.
We're live. Good morning, everybody. It's Technical Snafu Wednesday. We are melting down with the RNC here in town. This is what, August 26th already? I mean, it is flown by.
26.
Got a new shirt.
But good morning, everybody.
Alexa,
This is
stop.
Coffee and Dulce.
Alexa, stop.
And I want to introduce our host and producer, Christian Cano. Woo!
Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee and Dulce. As Jenny-Jaymes Gunn said, today is August 26th. I had to look down. We are almost finished with August, and then the summer will, I guess, technically the summer doesn't end until September, whatever, but Labor Day weekend's coming up. So all that wonderful stuff I'm sure we'll talk about and throw in. Today is a free-for-all. We are talking just about conventions. And we've got the wonderful neighbors around our Brady Bunch screen. So we're going to go around, and Mama Ruth, once again, we are, what do we call it? DJ Ruthless? DJ Ruthless, DJ Mama Ruthless will be coming in and out during the show because she's doing virtual learning with one of her little mihos. So let's go around the Brady Bunch screen. Who's got, anybody can see, I guess I can pull this up. Whoever wants to go. All right. It looks like Stephen, Barb, and then Jenny. There we go.
So that I can still start though. All right.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Good morning. I'm Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte, mostly healthcare lately. My button, if I had it on, it would be Medicare for all. And also I am strongly against gun violence and was very unhappy to see more continued shooting of another Black man this week. And I hope and pray that it stops.
Well, thank you, Barb.
I'm Stephen DiFiore. I'm a Libertarian Gubernatorial candidate in 2020 for North Carolina. You can visit my website and send me an email, get one of these awesome bumper stickers if you want. And yeah, I'm campaigning. And like Barb, I was rather dismayed to see an American injured by the police. It's really bad if you have good cops in a situation where there seems to be no effective means to get rid of the bad apples, which is why I'm opposed to qualified immunity and think that either Congress, the people, or the judiciary should do something to remedy this unlawful shield that protects bad actors within our police departments.
Absolutely. I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, and I'm a board member of the National Organization of Women. I'm a coordinator for Charlotte Pride. And of course, I am, if I wore a button right now, it would definitely be Medicare for all. And Moms Demand Action. I think we have to make our guns make sense. And we have to make our medical care make sense. And most of all, we need to figure a way to reduce harm in our society. It's inflamed so much that I think that we just have so many issues with hatred coming from all intersections, and we're really, really struggling to ice this down. And I think that we just really need to take harm reduction in general before we really taint these younger generations and we don't shield them and protect them like we should. As the elders of our society, we have failed the youth of America. All of us have, and we should take it more serious.
Well, thank you, Jenny. That was very well said. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts of Coffee and Dulce, and I have multiple buttons, but one of the most important buttons I have is Moms Demand Action, of course. Well, I had it. It is probably, it's on Baby Trump Pinata. Moms Demand Action, of course, is a gun sense group that is very involved. And we hope to continue to support them. They're everywhere. You see the moms and some dads with the red shirts. And so please support Moms Demand Action. They do some wonderful stuff. Baby Pinata is sitting next to us, and I was going to sit him over there because he keeps trying to take his mask off, if you can tell. Yeah, but bad baby. Now, we have some great, exciting news if you have not heard us on one of the other shows. So our 100th show is going to be on September the 16th. That happens to be 16 de September, the 16th of September. It's Mexican Independence Day. So it's a wonderful thing. It's our 100th show. And we're going to do it's going to be a grito show. We're going to have a grito contest. So anybody who knows what a grito is, does anybody? Dr. B's not on the show today, but he probably would know. Do you know what a grito is? Yes. So it's.
I didn't do a good one today. I wasn't really prepared.
So Barb and Stephen, you've got some time to practice your grito. Google GRITO.
Actually, if you go on the YouTube,
you can.
I guarantee YouTube has lessons for everything.
That's right. That's right. And so we'll be having that. And then next week we will have our annual chancla show. So if you have your sandals or whatever, make sure you have your chancla show. That's going to be kind of a fun show. But today it is all about the conventions. What you think about last week's DNC convention and then this week's RNC convention that's occurring currently in Charlotte. I forgot where we are. We're in Charlotte.
We're in Charlotte still.
That's right. And if you can see on your screen that we still have our view that we're trying all multiple things. And I need to personally apologize to my good friend, Jenny-Jaymes, Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. Last week, I thought I was Mr. Technology IT guy, had this hookup with all the systems. And I watched the show as I always do every night, just to see what, how it went. And I could not hear her on a lot of the show. And I noticed Dr. B's face and also Stephen's face, like, is she saying something? You could see on the closed caption, so it was picking it up, but I think it was picking up through my mic. It wasn't picking it up through your mic. So
I think so.
Yeah, so I apologize for that because she had some great stuff to say. So if you do watch that show, watch it on YouTube where closed caption comes on, and then you can hear what she has to say. I also want to apologize to my good friend Barbara Bacon, Mama Ruth, and Jenny as well. A couple of shows ago, and I watched it, we were talking about some issue. Jenny said something, and I said, I probably have more money than anyone on this. That was really, that was not a good thing for me to say, because I don't. I just married well. So I just want everyone to know that they have more money than me.
I remember because I was talking about campaign contributions.
That's right.
And I said a lot of politicians
Well,
are into white America and donations, and then you snap back and said, well, I have more money. But here's the thing, and I do appreciate the apologies because it's so rare. I guess this is your annual apology show, which I do accept it. And you are. There was nothing to forgive because actually I forgot about it. But I think a lot of times we get caught up in what we say, and it's really easy to do. And I'm the first to say inflammatory things and kooky things because I'm a kook, and I know I'm a kook. And everybody that knows me, you either love me for it or you hate me for it, one or the other. But I do think a lot of it makes me think of what we've watched this week locally, not at the actual convention, but outside the convention halls, where you have people in the street. And I saw these two Republicans going at it, and one was gay, one I guess was supposedly straight. He looked like a dirty Santa Claus, and with a quasi-military looking uniform. I mean, and you could tell he was having a bad meds day, and he was just spouting out racial epithets and anti-gay epithets, and just being awful. And the gay Republican wasn't being much better. He was cussing the dirty Santa Claus, and they both were just going at it with such venom. And I'm going, you're both white men. You're both Republicans, and the only thing that separates you two is one of you is in the rainbow family, and the other one is not, or supposedly is not. With all that anger towards gay people, you wonder what he's projecting. But anyway, it just like words mean things, and I think that's where a lot of the Republican craziness has just come from, is that they're so keyed up in these social issues that shouldn't even be issues, and just battling each other, that they're just projecting a ton of anger in this election cycle, more so even in 2016, and that's a shame. These are rank and file Republicans.
Yeah.
These aren't the delegates. These aren't
Yeah.
the people that are actually in the convention for the most part. You know, we're not having any problems with them. The 500 delegates that showed up here in town, they're peaceful. They're probably cowered up in their hotel room, hoping not to get COVID for the most part.
Well, you know, we are going to talk about that, but someone did join us, as we mentioned earlier, because we were DJ Mama Ruthless earlier. And welcome, Mama Ruth. It's great to see you. You're doing virtual learning. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I have my grandson, and he's A and B day stuff, so he has to log in on the days that he doesn't have virtual login, like virtual classes, but I still have to log him in. So I had to do that with him before I could log in with y'all. But I'm glad to be back here with y'all. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I left him downstairs doing his class while I'm here with y'all.
Well, thank you. So you want to go and introduce yourself and your imaginary button while we fix our technical issues on this end?
All right. Well, as y'all can see, my mouth covering, Medicare for all. I'm still cheering up for that, and I hope to see one day a miracle for Medicare for all. I know, Steve, you probably not agree with me with that, but it's okay. My name is Ruth Perez. I'm a community advocate. I'm glad to be here again today. I've been enjoying Coffee and Pan Dulce for almost 3 years. Oh my God, we're going that way, and I'm a board member for Charlotte Community Health Clinic, and I've seen so much need in Medicare and public assistance for uninsured fellows in our community, especially our homeless. And I've seen a lot of things. So there's my secret, but what is it? Invisible button. I'm all messed up this morning, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad we're happy to have you. I'm a little tongue-tied here this morning, and I couldn't get my contacts on. So you know you're going to have a challenging day when you can't get your contacts on after like the first 3 tries. You're like, forget it. So I'm wearing glasses, and Stephen and I were talking right before the show about how him and Dr. B have figured out this no reflection kind of glass thing, and I'm a little jealous this morning because you're seeing all this reflection. So anyway, with that said,
well, don't worry, Christian, because you have something up on us. As you just said earlier, you married well, and there's nothing wrong with marrying up. I mean, that's my goal in life.
Well,
You did marry well.
it is a mutual relationship, believe it or not, but that's a funnier joke. I married well. So let's go ahead and salute to Coffee and Pan Dulce. If you do have your coffee cup, as we always do, we salute to our neighbors and our ability to talk civilly and rationally. We do.
Even if people have the wrong idea about Medicare for all, it's all good though.
That's right.
I have invisible coffee today too.
Thanks, Mac.
And then we also want to thank Manolo's Bakery, who is our official Pan Dulce sponsor. Jenny has already started, but we have conchas. You have a chance to grab a concha and show it?
My little booger
Yeah, I thought she was going to eat the concha, so I put it there, but she's eating. And we also have, eat the concha. We also have Barbara's here that I'm going to go ahead and start eating. So sorry, Barb. But once again, we want to thank Coffee and Pan Dulce. Manolo's
one
Bakery.
from Cinco de Mayo, is it? Did you or is that cheap? He freezes and unfreezes the concha.
Hey!
And this is probably at least 6 months old now.
I didn't grow up with a lot of money. You got to learn how to save things. You know, I freeze everything. All right.
I'll probably get the bubble gut for me. Anyway.
All right.
We need a show of learning how to preserve hot tamales and conchas from Cano's home.
Exactly. Hey, you should have been here last night on Taco Tuesday. I redid my chicken mole and then some turkey meat tacos and then rice and beans that I make from scratch. And I gave it to Andrew, and Andrew, in a typical white privilege, mole again.
Dude, mole is delicious. I mean, I could eat mole almost every single day. It's a wonderful, wonderful sauce.
I want to see Steve eating mole for a whole week, and then he'll say, "Oh, it's delicious."
Don't threaten me with a good time.
But once in a while, but then you get wear out of it.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's talk about the conventions, and who wants to start? Let's try to keep it under 30 seconds or less if we can on this show. Tell us how you feel about last week's and how you're feeling about this week's. Who wants to go first? Barb. You're muted. Yes, ma'am.
You muted me.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. I watch the DNC every day. Very interested in just the first virtual convention, what it was going to be like. I was very happy with it overall, except I wish I heard policy statements coming out of other people's mouths, but I would have liked a little bit more policy. Where do they stand on some of the issues? I think they expected people to learn from what some of the presenters had to say, but most people don't follow politics until they absolutely have to, which is now the convention. And I thought they were a little light on that, but now I see a flurry of ads happening, and maybe that was their intent all along. But throughout the days, I would have liked to maybe an emphasis on one or two each day, but I wasn't the planner, so that's just my critique. But I was happy with it.
That's a good point, Barb.
Being an independent voter, I really did not want to watch the RNC at all, but I just had to, you know, that curious side of me. I almost lasted an hour and I had to turn it off. I was shocked at some of the things they were saying. I'm like, am I still on planet Earth? You know, I couldn't believe it, and I turned it off. I think I actually sent a few messages out because I knew Art wouldn't appreciate it. So and my brother and I had already talked about it. So, and I was telling Stephen that the next day, the other news channels were like, well, now you see what Fox News is like every day. So not a fan. I am not watching it. I'll put up with the recap the next day, but I'm not going to watch it. Too frustrating.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, that is right. I mean, that's actually, it's like an infomercial Fox News. But I guess to people who follow Trump's defense, if we have to defend him, the DNC commercial may have been like a MSNBC or CNN. Yeah, I think CNN's. Yeah. So
CNN. One more thing. They have those cute little ads about the convention. Are you noticing that the first one, you know, we're 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. Okay, fine. And they have masks on. They don't have masks on anymore, and they're not 6 feet apart. I sent them an email. I'm like, CNN, what are you doing? Somebody blew it.
Well, we had this conversation, last week or 2 weeks ago about the RNC convention and what could happen with Dr. B. And you remember we talked about how that doctor for RNC said they're going to strictly apply 6 feet masks. And we said, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like Tulsa. Yeah, that's right. So let's jump to Mama Ruth real quickly, just in case you have to jump off, and then we'll go to Stephen as well. How do you feel about last week's DNC and then this week's RNC in Charlotte?
It makes a big difference. I feel as being part of Charlotte, we deserve to have our own DNC. We didn't have to open the doors to the opposite. I've seen a lot going on over the weekend. It has break my heart. I think I shared some of the videos with y'all, especially my close friend, Hector Vaca, being harassed by, and that embarrassed me. That puts me in shame, a shame for me not to be embarrassed about preaching or saying that I serve God, that I love God, but being a Christian, because they're calling themselves Christians and saying that God doesn't like this and this, but they're judging people out front without knowing their background, without knowing who they are. You know, they called him out yesterday just by him being there, gay, you know, LBG. And then on the other side, you see another one with a big old card. I don't know if you noticed or seen that, you know, I'm voting for Trump and I'm a LGBT. I mean, who understands them? Fix yourselves first. Make the right decision and see themselves and stop being harassing our city, because we don't have to be putting up with that. Especially, I'm very upset with CMPD. I'm very, very upset with CMPD because the way they're acting right now, the way they're taking the actions is not the appropriate. I mean, if it would be the opposite, they don't do anything. But since we're the protesting, we're the ones that are against Trump being here, the RNC being held here, they're just don't care about who's out there. They sprayed gas acid to our, I don't know if you know Reverend Mac.
Yep.
She went through it. She doesn't have to be going through all that embarrassment. She does a lot here in our city. For her to be harassed by RNC people and by our CMPD. So I'm very, very upset about that.
I'd like to kind of talk about that event because I was actually there on Monday, and I agree with you, Mama Ruth. I wish more people were there to see how CMPD treated us who were peacefully protesting, are rallying, and how they defended the racists and the bigots. It was just very, I'm confused about it. So Stephen, 30 seconds or less, because we all do so well keeping in our time limits.
Yeah, I'll keep to my times. Easy, because I haven't been following the RNC, to be perfectly honest. My attention has been on the campaign, doing stuff with the Libertarian Party. I caught some of the highlights of the DNC, online convention. It was, in my opinion, just the same old vapid coronation that all the major parties do. I think about 20 minutes of Trump's speech at some point popped up on my Facebook feed. So I was like, I was uploading some files to an FTP site and had nothing better to do. So I listened for about 20 minutes before I got bored. Same sort of vapid stuff you see from, again, the big two parties. And it's just not something I'm terribly interested in because I want substance. Yeah. There's a lot of effort on the part of the power brokers that control the government to divide us rather than unite us. We're all Americans here. We all have things in common. We can all find common cause. It's easy to focus on the things that are different, maybe a bit more difficult to focus on the things we share in common, but sharing those things in common and focusing on that is, in my opinion, more productive. And that's where my interest lies. That's all I got.
Now, I have a question for Steve then. If you're not interested in knowing how DNC or RNC are handling this voting period, how do you expect to answer some of the questions that you might be asked, or some of your delegates or politicians defend themselves? How do you expect to get to let our community know what are y'all are for, what are y'all are voting for, why should I vote for a Libertarian Party?
Yeah, so the Libertarians, we have our own party platform. We have our own issues. I have my campaign website with the, top 4 items I'm focusing on. Like any campaign, we answer the questionnaires. We have public events and make speeches where we can. We post things on social media, all the things that the other candidates and campaigns do, right? But why, for example, why would a Republican need to know what the policy platforms are of a Democrat? It wouldn't need to. And why would a Democrat need to know the policy platform of the Republicans? They don't need to. They need to know their platform and where they stand and on their issues. Democrats and Republicans will come to me and they'll say, Steve, here's an issue that I think is very important. What would you do about it? And I know what I would do in that situation because I know the party's philosophy and the party platform and the solutions that we think would make for better systems to move forward in a direction that most people would want. Because in our end, we're interested in solutions.
I'm a football mom. I'm a sport parent since my kids were small. And my kids played a lot of baseball and soccer. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to get the win and know how to do home runs and do some goals, we had to stay sometimes and watch the opposite, whoever we were facing, their tricks, their talents, what they were doing, what they were up to, how they throw the ball, how they bat, in order to win ahead. Sometimes here in the Latino, we think this is what our say is we have to be close by our enemy and know how they move to be able to defeat them.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you make. And as you said earlier, most people aren't in it all the time. They only pay attention to politics when the convention comes around. I'm a party activist, a party member, and a politician to boot, a candidate. I've been in it nonstop. So there is nothing that's going to come out of the convention that I don't already know is going to come out there, because the way the big parties work, these conventions are just coronations. No real solid work gets done. Everyone already knows what's going to happen when all the delegates arrive at these events. It's just rubber stamping stuff. And the only thing is, like, okay, what words did some speechwriter use versus that speechwriter? How is the camera work? These sort of banal details that are interesting to those of us who are, political aficionados, but to everyday people, not really. So, if you wanted to ask me what the DNC's position on Medicare for all is, for example, yeah, I could tell you right now, the same as I could tell you last week, because their position hasn't changed. I could.
No, I see what you're saying, but I understand what Mama Ruth is saying. I wanted to give her like a double snap in a circle because she was asking a really good, tough question. It was almost like she was an interview on CNN, pinning down someone.
Well, not only that, Cano, I mean, as y'all know, I'm an independent. Yeah. I'm an affiliated. So, I have a war inside of me because, I incline myself more into Democrats. And I do agree with some minimal parts of Republicans. And I learned a lot with not only Steve, but with Jeff about the libertarian. But then inside of me, I want to get to know more of their involvement. And the way I feel is that making these separate groups, you're on your own, this on your own, and we're on our own. We don't know nothing about them. We don't care about them. I worry and focus on me. And that's fine. I respect that. But then at the bottom line, I don't think it's a good face to give out to the community, because then they'll be like, okay, so they're on their own. They like to be by themselves. They don't like to get involved with nothing. So why should I vote for someone that don't care about what's going on with any other parties?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I misunderstood what your question was. So you're wanting to know what the libertarian involvement is in communities, right? Because here's the thing: like, we can't really get involved in other political parties because they won't have us. Because we like to answer ideas and we like to get at the root of the issue. The politicians in the big parties, they like rhetoric. They like to say, "Oh, we'll promise you this time." If we had 8 years of a president from one party and the things that got them elected didn't get changed, well, we know we didn't change it this time, but give us one more go around. We swear we'll do it this time. And it never happens. It never changes. The problems that persist continue to persist. As long as I've been alive, 36 years, right? I've heard about people complaining about healthcare in America. And politicians from Republicans and Democrats have always been talking about healthcare. And guess what? We're still talking about it, because as long as the problem persists, they can campaign on it. As long as I've been alive, people have been complaining about immigration, one way or the other.
And I understand
they have no interest in actually solving the issue.
And I understand that, Steve. My question now, since you just mentioned that, my question to you is, how many libertarians have made a change in the White House?
Okay,
they've never been in the White House.
The production values.
Yeah, we'll let him answer, but let's let Jenny-Jaymes jump in. Go ahead, Jenny.
First of all, I want to do a shout out to all of our loyal viewers that have been commenting. We've had Philip Cano, Sean Thompson, and Kira Long have all been commenting on our Facebook feed. Thank you guys for commenting and contributing to the show. A few thoughts. Philip Cano said, Wyatt's speech seemed like it was from a different world. It was a good speech, but I'm really confused what planet it was from. And I'm paraphrasing. It's not exactly what he said, but it's pretty close. And the second thing is, I think I understand what what Stephen is saying, and I understand what Ruth is saying is, you want to know what the other teams are doing, to sharpen your game. But at the same time, and I played sports for years too, you better know your own game plan. You better be able to stand on what you need. You need to be prepared to defend your stances, because as anybody, I'm a Democrat. I haven't watched any of the RNC because I know how they feel about me. So I'm never going to vote Republican. I can't even see it doing it in my lifetime, just because of their stance on the LGBT community and their continued attacks on us with hate bills, including this year. So we're already at a divide. They've already shut me off as a voter. And so I see what Stephen's saying is that they have a clear and conscious game plan. So I don't need to learn anything from them. I'm gonna execute my game plan. And it's just like Coach Lombardi would say, is like, we practice handing off the football 50 times a practice because we need to know the basics. We need to know what we're doing. And that's very important. I mean, I think if you don't execute your game plan, you end up getting in these battles of rhetoric. And we end up getting in this, well, she said that, he said that, and and this tit for tat. I do agree with Stephen on this point. I think the major two parties have spent too much time lobbing grenades at each other instead of cleaning up their own house.
Yeah.
And clean your own house first, worry about your neighbor's house second.
Well, speaking of house, I do want to thank, I think Stephen, to not defend Stephen, but I think he misunderstood the question. I understand what Mama Ruth was saying exactly. How can we support someone who is not involved in the community, who's not understanding what parties are doing and so forth. And I don't think that's what Stephen was saying. I think Stephen was saying is, why do I need to watch it? I already know what they stand for. It's not going to change. It's going to be the same old BS, and maybe even it's an infomercial. So I think I don't mean to answer it for you that way, Stephen, but I think he misunderstood the question. A little bit.
Yeah, I think, and I understand what Stephen's saying as far as we've got a specific game plan that we had a convention on. We know what our policies are. They're very firm. They're that's why we had a convention as well, because the libertarians, y'all had a convention in Orlando, I believe. And so libertarians are pretty firm on their policies. And ironically, the RNC released their platform
with
they don't have one.
With no platform.
They
Exactly.
Like basically, we're just going to have a convention with no platform.
Their platform is Trump.
That's
so speaking of that, I want to talk very briefly about Monday's rally, the RNC Resist kind of rally that was planned a year ago. Whenever the RNC was announced here in Charlotte, community members and activists as well and advocates organized this event because we expected thousands of people to be here at the time, if you remember, and there was going to be a peaceful rally against the RNC being here on Monday night of the week. And then COVID started and then it got scaled down and the rally still went on and there were lots of speakers. And so what happened is there was not a lot of people at the event, but there is this organized group of about 11 guys. Many of them overweight, many of them, they're just fat slobs. I know I can't fat shame on our second show, but you didn't say on this show. But that's really, if you watch them, there are 11 guys that carry about 3 of them carry the signs, God hates fags, abortion is, this, and yada, yada. They've been traveling this week and they're racist and they're bigots. And they use this week to coordinate specific areas to just make people, just to provoke people because they know you can. And under the guise of free speech, this is just their week to just spew their hate, saying, oh, it's free speech, it's free speech. So this was one of the events they attended. They are the same guys. If you look at all the video, they're the same guys, the same fat guy with the beard, said he's Hispanic, so he can't be racist. He's not, he's like,
are you talking about the Dirty Santa Claus?
Yes, the Dirty Santa Claus. And they were at this event on Monday night that I attended. They were also at White Rabbit against the LGBT people. They were outside that area. They were at our Muslim brothers and sisters. They were at a mosque yesterday.
They're at the abortion center this morning off of Wendover.
But this is a gang. This is really like an MS-13 gang of fat white guys. One of them says he's Hispanic. He's more Hispanic than he is Hispanic. And they're, no, because they're wusses. They would never do this any other time because they get their butt kicked. But they're doing it this week because the CMPD is protecting them. And I say this because at Monday night's event, we had a permit, we were there, they had a permit. They were there provoking people. They were literally like sitting in front of me going, you spick, you wetback, you know, go back to your country, saying all this stuff. Of course, I ignore them because the more they speak, the crazier they sound, but they don't mind. They just want one person to get mad. The young people there got upset. The young people went up to them. CMPD immediately on their bikes came around, had their backs to them, facing us, which in protection means they are protecting them from us. They weren't protecting us from the racists and the bigots. They were protecting the racists and the bigots from people being offended by them. Maybe it's a strategic, I don't know about policing, whatever, but you would think that they would.
I've got two takes, though.
Well, so let me just say this real quick.
Okay.
So one of the persons said, I find it very ironic that CMPD back is towards them, means they are protecting them. All they had to do hearing that is maybe turn around, or some of them turn around and whatever. So, and I noticed that they do this at all the videos that we've seen, the Hector Vodka video, the one last night, the mosque video, the LGBT White Rabbit video. CMPD is going around protecting these people's ability to harass and spew hatred. But yet when citizens of Charlotte are going out there saying against them, we're pepper sprayed and bombed. And so that's the irony. Go ahead.
Well, of course, that's two different
Okay.
conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, in two different protests.
Tell Jenny to unmute. I can't hear her at all.
Oh,
Can y'all
I'm
not
sorry.
hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear?
Say something.
Much better now.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Just project.
So one thing
Sounds like
that I noticed, the Saturday and Sunday night protests, especially the late night ones, got very physical, very, very violent, from both sides. And they kind of let them go. And it was very much a younger crowd. Those older white men weren't at these. These were like the young Turks, the young, you know, the young protesters on both sides, and it got physical. And the police had to actually restrain both sides of the fence on that one.
Okay.
And now maybe they learned their lesson and didn't want it to get out of control. But I also think that the police realized that those older, more curvy, older white men, I'm not gonna fat shame anybody, even vile Republicans that go out there. And I don't even know if they're really Republicans. I think they're just old white bigots.
Yeah.
They just see this as an opportunity to spew their venom.
Exactly.
But truthfully, I would imagine there was more anti-protesters on our side that were there. And quite frankly, if I'm going to face a crowd, I'm going to face a younger, bigger crowd. Okay. Because I know the old white men aren't going to. They're going to spew a lot of rhetoric, but they're actually not. They're not froggy enough to jump at 400 or 200 protesters. Okay. And so the cops strategically know these old white men. They're going to need to take a nap here in about a few minutes. So, quite frankly, if I was the popo, I would turn my back to the old white men too. Okay. Because they're a bunch of old impotent jerks that probably can't satisfy their wives.
Which is why they're out.
And they're probably half of them are closeted homosexuals themselves. Yes. You know, and the other half are probably like the dirty Santa's, probably a pedophile. So anyway, you know, I said it. I mean, like was former Speaker of the House, Dennis Hassard. Whoa, hey, a Republican. Exactly. And so, I don't fault the police from taking the more strategic threat serious, because when you have younger, more aggressive protesters like we saw on Saturday night, we're very young Black Lives Matter protesters, and the Proud Boys, they physically went at it. Both sides did. Now, but don't you think? I'm not taking a side on that. No, but don't you think, Jenny, that because when that happened, I guess people noticed it before me, that it had occurred, and then some community members, Minister Mack had mentioned it too, right before they pepper sprayed the young people. Right. And so what happened was, the community had said that, and with the bad rap CMPD has, you would think they would explain, hey, just want to let you know the reason we do this is because
for this reason, when they don't say anything and they just stand there it comes across as they're just standing there kind of smug, like, what are you going to do? So what happens is when the old white guys walked away, one of the young black guys said something that upset one of the police officers, and he sprayed them all in the face.
And that's the
Oh my
problem.
God.
Yes.
And so here's one of the issues is that we did have CPD say we're going to stop using chemical weapons against civilians, and then they turn around and use it. So therein lies your issue is the over policing and repression, and they're making bad decisions. Now,
Well,
on that
what-
thing, they shouldn't be using chemical weapons on civilians.
So I guess that's why people were upset, was because
Charlotteans, we're paying for them. Hey.
yes.
And that's what I was gonna say, Barb. As our community, as we the people, have the right to question CMPD, and
Right.
I guess we have stopped questioning after what happened with the last riots, and we think that they're gonna change, and we're making them seem like, okay, well, they said they're not gonna use it anymore. That's fine. Let's just calm down. But then at this moment, right now, I've seen so much over the weekend. We have the right to get up and go and question, and they have to answer us because we pay our taxes to have them employed. So if they're not doing their right job, we don't need them.
Right.
Well, those are very good points. And so, we've been talking about this, and this is what we were afraid of happening if the RNC came here, this kind of mistreatment to citizens, but yet protection of the racists and the bigots. And that was, so I guess we should be a little bit grateful that it's not at a larger scale.
That's
That these
what I
are
was
only,
going to say. At least it's only a
So-
small group.
yeah, we should be a little bit grateful in that. But at the same time, it like common sense, and we talk about this all the time, we knew this was going to happen. We knew these racists and bigots were going to come into this. It was going to be the week that they had the opportunity to just do what they want to do. Because otherwise, I was going to say to Jenny, these are cowards. They would never do that late at night with a bunch of other people where the police can't protect them at the levels. They get beat up.
Well, those old guys are probably dead at 8 o'clock at night.
It's interesting. I'll take the ACLU's position on this. The ACLU a number of years ago did something very unpopular, promoting the right of Americans to exercise their free speech rights. They protected a group of, I believe they were neo-Nazis walking through Skokie, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep. And, I think that was 63, 64, something like that. Incredibly unpopular, right? But they said, you know what? Even though we don't like their opinions, they're still Americans, even if they have gross opinions, and they have their rights because rights are non-negotiable. And there's this thing about free speech. The cure to bad speech is more speech. And the thing is, whenever one side or the other, regardless of whatever justification, turns violent, you always have the people who engage violence first, even if it's on a small scale. Public opinion turns against them, and it's really unfortunate. So if you're going to be protesting, it's a really good idea to make sure everyone's on the level and no one gets out of hand. And you keep in mind that mantra, sticks and stones. But again, words can't really hurt you unless you let them hurt you. And to give an example of an act of violence turning against the people engaging in them, when Martin Luther King was marching across the bridge in Selma, right? Technically, he was breaking the law because he didn't have a permit to walk across the bridge, but not every law is just, right? There was no victim there. So why the heck not walk across that bridge? And there are news cameras there, the press and all that. And it was, I forget the governor's name at the time. Was it George Wallace? I forget. It doesn't really matter. He ordered the cops of that town to set upon, peaceful Americans with dogs and water hoses and batons, and this went all over the news. And then you had America, even in suburban white America, who maybe didn't like blacks that much, they would see this and they go, you know what, that's still wrong, like that ain't right. And the tide of the public turned against the authoritarian apparatus of the state that was essentially forcing the oppression of fellow Americans into a
Stephen,
second-class citizenship status.
I don't want to speak for Minister Mack or some of the other people who were upset at the optics, but I understand what they were. I don't think anyone was wanting to deny those heavy, curvy white guys from what they're saying, because we know they're going to be there.
Yeah.
Any LGBT person, their whole life, we put up with them at our pride parades saying we're going to hell. We just ignore them. That's their free speech. That's not the issue. The issue is the optics of CMPD always protecting them and not us.
So, yeah, I can get that frustration. I mean, and that you can't control everybody, and that probably wouldn't have happened if the hot-blooded youth hadn't walked up to the, and what can you do about that? Because I was a kid once, I was a teenager, an activist in college. I did stupid things too, right? It happens.
I have a suggestion to CMPD, because we know they don't watch the show. I have a suggestion. If the community has been telling you for years, we don't like the optics of how you police in Charlotte, and change those optics. If there are people that feel as if though their backs towards the other person to protect them, then how about just simply put another line of police with their backs protecting us?
Right.
That would change the whole optics. There were a lot of CMPD police on bikes. Bring the other people with the bikes and put them in between them, facing each other. So we feel protected and they feel protected. That's all you have to do. So to me, there are answers to these, but it becomes, I don't know why they don't do those things, because.
But I think also too, I'm not defending the CMPD.
Stand here.
They've done a lot of wrong, and as far as using, my biggest issue with them again is using the chemical weapons.
Yeah.
The overuse of military style tactics on civilians, no matter what their affiliation. I don't care if they're a Proud Boy or they're gay pride or whatever. You just don't use that on civilians, and that's what I'm getting scared of. Is we've seen federal officers go into Portland and grab people and throwing them in vans. This whole heavy-handed stuff that is very authoritarian, very Russian, very aggressive. That's the part that's scaring me, whether it's the city of Charlotte or a federal officer, is the heavy-handed tactics that I have the biggest problem with. That'll be the death of free speech as we know it in this country if this is allowed. And so this is the primary argument I have, and this is the one of the big things that I loved about Joe Biden's message last week in the deal was talking about love, talking about kindness, talking about compassion. Because I do believe we need a lot of that. I am very afraid for this country. The tone and the tenor is gotten pat. And I don't care if somebody calls me a faggot. I really don't, because I look at the source.
I got slapped for you.
Yeah, you did.
Oh my God.
That wasn't a bar. That wasn't a bar. This did not happen this week. So this is a different story for a different. We had just come from, I think, Wanda Mayfield's birthday party, and we stopped off at the local neighborhood bar down the street. And this woman, I had a costume on. I had this really wild, I dressed pretty wild.
Yeah.
And this one was very exotic and very, very, very shiny. And this drunk woman came up to me and goes, "You're nothing special. Anybody can wear this." And I go, "Yeah, I can even tell you the website. I got this off. I got it off dollskill.com. And she just kept coming at it. So Christian, being the gentleman he is, he stepped in between me and this very inebriated woman, goes, "What's your problem?" and tried to ice it down. And then she cracked Christian right in the face.
She slapped me.
It was a good slap. It wasn't a slap.
I stood there like,
it was a jack slap.
Like she just slapped me.
And then the bar jumped in and took her outside, and banned her and her little friends. And
I was like this.
Girl. To throw down, we had to calm him down a little bit, and it was on. But I think that is part and parcel of the problem, is that they're, instead of having an intellectual debate on whether LGBT people should exist, or this or that or whatever, we've mired down to name calling and racial epithets and horrific things. Yes, these guys are spewing this, but look, consider the source.
Yeah.
You've got 11 old, angry white men that are seeing the world change in front of them. And I'm not excusing it.
Yep.
But they're seeing the last days of conservatism leaving this country.
But this is what young people are seeing, and I know you and I talk about this a lot on our second show. Which after this show, Two Queers in a Truck will be on. So please, we'll be talking about Julie Eisel and is she a bigot? That is our conversation this afternoon. So just a little context to what Jenny said. When the lady was really being mean to Jenny in many ways, and Jenny was trying to be polite and trying to change the subject, whatever.
I've dealt with a lot of drunks. I've worked in a lot of bars.
So I said, because I wanted it stopped, I said, I don't know what trailer trash you came from, but this is not how we talk in America. And that upset her. I guess she came from a really bad trailer trash, And so I think I said white trailer trash.
She wasn't too drunk then.
No, she was sober enough to know that her trailer's not trash. So, she slapped me. She had an upscale trailer.
She had a double wide.
Exactly.
You just have a knack for needling people.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wish I
And she took the wheels off and put skirting on. So it technically wasn't a trailer anymore. It was a manufactured home. So
all right.
she was offended by the.
Well, Jenny, you look really good on that day. I remember at the 50th birthday. We were bad girls.
Yeah. So listen, we only got about 5 to 6 minutes left. We started just a little late, but let's go back around and let's talk about. There's 2 more nights for the RNC. We saw last week's DNC, which I thought it was a really good convention. I think having the COVID-19 and having the Zooms and all that made it more personal than having them stick to a bunch of individuals. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Which in the same breath, I haven't really watched a lot of this convention. I accidentally turned the TV on last night to a channel and Melania was talking, and it was almost like a Saturday Night Live skit. It was like a robot going, and they want to thank all the Americans for this, and you can't sound any more foreigner than her accent, and yet her husband is so against foreigners. So the irony of that is just to me, from my lens, was hilarious. So there's a person that's on our show that has been on our show before. We all know him. His name is Fudd. He's a huge Trump supporter. And Jenny said what COVID-19 has done, it is brought out, filtered. It's a great filter. Donald Trump hasn't shown us who he is. He's allowed other people to show us who they are, family members, who they are, people that we know and we love. So I posted a picture of Melania Trump, a kind of a meme that said her, and it said, "Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Biden." And the joke is because everyone believes she copied Michelle Obama's speech back in 2016. So it was a kind of funny meme that I posted. Well, Fudd, I haven't talked to him in 4 months. Apparently I offended him this morning, like at 4 or 5 in the morning, that he's smoking his pot and drinking with all of his other little crazy in the basement, whatever they are. Got really upset. If you're a friend of mine on my Facebook page, you'll see what he said. He said that he was really offended, and he does not, Fudd's a racist. He's a Christian racist from the country. Tries to use the fact that he loves people, he loves gay people, LGBT people, as a guise for being a racist, as if though we need his love. I love you. Just want to let you know I love you. I don't give a shit if you love me, you fat slob.
But then go back, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I did. But I think you got to consider this. So,
all I want to hear from the RNC people is, I'm already sick and tired about them loving gay and loving this and loving that. Just respect everyone's point of view. Just respect everyone's choice. That's it. That's the way you can show and demonstrate your love. If you really care for God, if you really love God, just hush and don't say a word against no one. That's it.
Exactly. So Mama Ruth, this is what I was going to say. Then I'm going to stop, and then we're going to close out because I know you want to say something. What Fudd said was, he said, "Oh, look at something like," he's being kind of sarcastic in his drunk way. Omar, our congresswoman, that he hates all the squad because they're brown women, and he's got this thing against women of color. He only posts stuff about ALC and about how she's a whore and this. And then he said that Omar married her brother to become an American citizen, and then now is married to a white dissident. So she's a big old whore. He's got some really serious women issues and some serious women of color issues. This is a guy that proclaims to be a Christian, a loving person. He's a racist and bigot. And
so maybe he's also, I know, but maybe he's also an LGBT hiding behind the closet.
Well, that's another story that we talk about in the lodge all the time. But that's just,
he's probably frustrated. So just, bless his heart. Let's all bless his heart.
Yeah, that's what I guess. So I didn't reply to it this morning because I wanted everyone to see his response, because my family has hired him to play. He's a musician. Other people have hired him to play. And I hope that people, before they hire him, would I hire him again? Probably, because he plays really well. But I do think that he has to understand that his words have actions. And I could not, in good conscience, hire him to play with other women or women of color, knowing how much hate he has in his heart for other people. So those are one of the things that we have to hold those crazy Trump conspiracy people like him accountable, and they have to be heard in the pocket. And yet he's the same person that's living off the government, and he's the same person who's living off, but yet he's, oh, you socialists. So anyway, I did my piece because I thought that was just outrageous. I didn't want to delete it, because that's what I should have done, is delete it and block him. But I have to say, bless your heart, Fudd. We're here for you. If you want to come in, we're here. We don't hate you. We don't hate the sinner. We hate the sin. So that's, with that said, let's go around, because we need to close out.
Yeah, we're
and tell us where you're going to be. 30 seconds or less, and then we got to get ready to get on our show, our second show. So who wants to go first? Is anybody?
I'll go quickly first. So earlier there was a question that was about what do libertarians do and what influence we've had in the White House. Kind of an unfair question, but I'll give you an example. In Indiana, there was a gubernatorial candidate, Rupert Bonham. His major platform position was about school choice. He didn't win the election, but he beat the spread by a good margin. And the governor that got elected, I think it was Pence at the time, essentially just lifted that policy out of whole cloth and put it into law in Indiana. And then as a result, Indianans across the state had more options on how to educate their children, right? So this was a moment of activism that improved the lives of people in a state.
So that's why you should be supporting Medicare for all.
Yeah, sure. It's VA for all, right? And that's VA is so wonderful. But if you want to look at my healthcare position, getting rid of our CON laws, the certificate of need laws, artificially increase the price of medical care in this state. They reduce the supply of medical care in this state. They stifle innovation. They protect the hospital monopolies. And this is not good for the people in North Carolina. And I want those laws gone so that our medical costs can go down.
Okay, so Stephen, where are you going to be next? And then we'll go to the next person.
I will be around North Carolina. I'm not sure which town I'm going to be in just yet, but I'll be somewhere talking to somebody.
Excellent. Thank you. I think Barbara's next.
I will be working on a project for Judy Brown, Project 70 Forward, and that's going to take a few days, and hope to God the construction is over by Friday and I can do some other work next week. But other than that, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Poor Barbara and your construction dilemma. I think the next person is.
I'll go.
Ruth, or go ahead, Mama Ruth.
Yeah, I'll go. This weekend I'll be joining my second grandson. He turns 2 years old on Saturday. It'll be his second birthday. And I'll also be going to the river in Spartanburg, South Carolina, with the family in the morning. So y'all have fun.
Yes.
I guess I'll go next. Well, we'll be on Two Careers in the Truck here in a few minutes. And pretty much other than that, I'll be social distancing and just doing my normal work. But I do want to say, and I want to close out like I have been the last few weeks, I want to see, people think before they speak and understand that your words have consequence. They have, especially around children. young adults. It's so impressionable, and I do think we need to be mindful of who's listening and mindful. Obviously, this show does not appeal to young people. I don't think young people watch this, but in your daily life, if you are around children, use softer language, use less violent language. Words can have violence and violent, consequences. Even words like, and I'm not picking on Christian, but he knows how I feel about this, about fat shaming or body shaming people, is that they have it has a violent ripple effect, and we shouldn't make fun of somebody's appearance. And because I do fight that on a daily basis, I'm referred to as a man in a dress on a lot of other things on a quite often basis. And judging somebody by how they look is what gets us into racist problems, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, that creates more violence and more hate. And we need to be mindful of that, because when we shout back, all we hear is shouting. We need to listen. We need to be more careful. And that is very, very important going into this next decade.
Well, thank you. As usual, Jenny says what we all would like to happen. I say, screw it. When they go low, we kick their ass. That's what I say. So when they go low, we kick them in the balls. That's what we do. All right, so we are finished here, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. Don't forget, next week is our chancla show. So get your chancla ready. We're going to tell stories again about growing up with chanclas. Those who have recently found out about what a chancla is, you can tell us if you use the chancla to turn your TV off, to whatever, to kill a fly. Well, all the wonderful things. If you have a boomerang chancla that goes around the room to hit your dog. Yes, the remote control. That's right. That's right. That's right. They're remote control.
I just ordered me a new pair of chanclas. They're called Tonka chanclas. I'll have them in for the show.
Excellent. So we're going to have a great time next week. I also want to thank our wonderful friend Tara Lawn for giving me a new mask. It's Matthew Ridenhour for County Commission. I am actually going to be supporting Matthew. Matthew is a Republican. He former Tea Party person, but he's a good guy. And he would be representing. Yeah, he would be representing my family in the county commission. He was a county commissioner before, lost to Susan Hardin, who is not going to be running again. And Matthew Ridenhour is going to be running again. I followed Matthew. We don't agree with a lot of issues, but we all don't. Jenny and I don't agree with a lot of issues, but he's a decent person. More importantly, if there's a Democrat running, they ain't even, I don't know who it is. So, if the Democrat at least showed up at our door and said, hey, I'm so-and-so, or I want to be on your show or something, but we haven't heard from them. So as far as I'm concerned, you're not concerned about my family. So why would I even vote for you? I have no idea. So
there is one, but I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name.
There is someone in there? I think so. Anyway, this district. All right. So
well, I support Reinhardt also. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Matthew's for parks, Matthew's for things. There's a lot of things that him and I would agree with. So with that said, thank you so much for joining us. Have a safe, happy weekend. I'm sure I'll be camping this weekend somewhere in North Carolina, Georgia, or wherever. And if you're on Zoom, stay on. Stephen, great to see. Hey, I do want to say it is completely unfair that Governor Cooper and Run Forest Run aren't inviting Stephen and the constitutional candidate to the debate. I think that is.
I think it's because we both have Italian last names and they hate Italians.
Ooh.
We're going to talk to the boys about that.
Yeah.
Maybe the boy from Jersey will come down and help you.
That's all right. With that said,
or New York.
Stay on the line if you're on Zoom, but everyone else just wave bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you next week.
Talk to the boys from the family.
The boys.
Bye.
The boy from New Jersey. What do you